All right, little buddy. Mommy's gonna try to make you some books here. I think it's gotta be like this. All right, well, hopefully that's a good. All right, little Anton man. Mommy's gone, so I'm gonna make you this video with some books. So you're gonna go night-night, or you can watch them if you miss me. This first one is Pete the Cat's Groovy Imagination. Pete the Cat was happy. Today would be so much fun. Chilling out, catching vibes, sand surfing, and lots of sun. But when Pete looked outside, he got down in the dumps sad. Dark clouds and pouring rain could make this good day turn bad. Pete didn't complain. He didn't feel blue. Pete knew he could find something fun to do. Pete drew a cool picture. He strummed a little tune until he saw something too good to be true. Pete found a big box. He looked it up and down. He turned it side to side and he spun it all around. The box was brown and it was strong. The box was wide and tall. Maybe this wasn't just any box after all. This box rocks. The box was big and it was groovy. The box could be something new. Suddenly Pete's imagination grew and grew and grew. Maybe it was more than a box. Maybe it was more than it seemed. Pete closed his eyes and had an out-of-this-world dream. It was more than a box. It was a groovy rocket ship. Pete saw the moon on his outer space trip. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Pete was heading home. He landed splash in the sea. Pete had to think fast. What could this box be? The box was big and it was groovy. The box could be something new. Suddenly, Pete's imagination grew and grew and grew. The box was now a yellow submarine. Pete dived way down into the sea. He wore his goggles to see the underwater scene. The submarine crashed when it reached land. Now the box was lying sideways in the sand. But what's a cat to do with a box that can't stand? The box was big and it was groovy. The box could be something new. Suddenly, Pete's imagination grew and grew and grew. And pretty soon, the box was not just a box lying on its side. It was a cool cat race car revving for a fast, fast ride. Vroom, vroom, Pete won the race just like that. Then splat, the race car went flat. Now what good is a box that looks like a mat? The box was big and it was groovy. The box could be something new. Suddenly, Pete's imagination grew and grew and grew. Even though a flat box was not in the plan, Pete imagined it was a stage for his jammin' rock band. Sometimes our plans just don't go right, but it doesn't mean the day can't be out of sight. If you use your imagination, you will see just how groovy your day can be. When you want to dream of something new, thinking outside the box is the grooviest thing to do. It's a pretty good one, Anton, man. Oh boy, this is going to be a long one. Hope you're ready for that. The Lorax. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, no bird ever sings except old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax and why was it there? The old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He'll tell you perhaps if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail and makes most careful count. Then he hides what you paid him in his snubby, a secret strange hole in his grooverless glove. Slip, down slips the whisper-mophone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear. Since they have come down through a snurgly hose, he sounds as if he has smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says with his teeth sounding gray, it all started way back, long time. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swanny swans rang out in space. And I saw the trees, I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright tufts of the truffula trees. And under the trees I saw barbaloots frisking about in their barabaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula flutes. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew what to do. I unloaded my cart. And in no time at all, I built a small shop. I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. Then with great skillful skill and great speedy speed, I took the soft tough and I knitted a thneed. In an instant I finished, I heard a gazup. I saw something pop out of the stump. It was a sort of man. Describe him, it's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. He spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax, I speak for the trees. What's that thing you've made of my truffula tuff? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree, I'm doing no harm. It's quite useful, this thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong. For the minute a chap came along and he bought the thneed I knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him, shut up if you please. And in no time at all I built the factory I built, the whole once-ler factory was working full kilt. We were knitting thieves as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow, so I quickly invented my super axe hacker that whacked off 4 truffula trees with one smacker. But the next week he knocked at my office door. He snapped, I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. I'm also in charge of the barabaloots, who played in the shade in their barabaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor barabaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food. I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried. I, the once-ler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow. I meant no harm, I most certainly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when the old nuisance once-ler came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. Once-ler, he cried with a croculous croak, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swanny swans, they can't sing a note. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They can't live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year. What's more, snapped the Lorax, let me say a few words about gluppity-glup, also sloppity-slop, and you know what's left over? I'll show you, you dirty old once-ler man. You're glupping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they come. I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad, terribly mad, and I yelled, now listen here, Dad, all you do is yap, bad, bad, bad. Well, I've got my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to keep just going on doing what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at the very moment we heard a loud whack. From the outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. We heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more thneeds, no more needs, no more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles, my aunts, and everyone all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and they drove away under the smoke-smothered stars. Now, all that was left beneath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing. He just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad, backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face as he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks and the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since then I sat here and worried through the years. But now, said the once-ler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better, it's not. So catch, calls the once-ler, He let something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all his friends may come back. Okay, well, we better do one more, little buddy, because I'm sure that you miss me. All right, we're going to do Some Dog. We haven't read this one in a while, have we, pal? When the woman read the newspaper, George had a place to rest his wearied head. Hang on, let me look. Did I start? Yep. When the man chopped wood, George studied 1,000 cents in the wind. And when they went fishing, George, who couldn't swim, rode in the middle, steady and still. You're some dog, said the woman. Some dog, said the man. There he is, some dog. But the day another dog arrived, everything changed. He must be a stray, said the woman. Looks like he's here to stay, said the man. Row, cried George, row. Like a jackrabbit, the stray leaped back and forth, yippity, yippity, yippity. Then he zipped around the room 3 times. What a lively dog, said the woman. Let's call him Zippity, said the man. Now the newspaper arrived. Zippity snatched it, flew over the couch, and dropped it at the woman's feet. Good dog. When the man chopped wood, Zippity backflipped and caught the sticks in midair. Amazing. When the man and the woman biked to the corner store, Zippity ran ahead with the grocery list. By the time they arrived, the shop owner had the groceries packed up and ready to go. What a dog. And when they all went fishing, Zippity jumped from George's back from lap to lap until he dove in, caught a fish, and swam to shore. That Zippity dog is some dog. At night at dinner, George was too tired to beg for food. At nighttime, he was exhausted, but Zippity snored. One day, George smelled rain in the wind. Before long, thunder grumbled. It boomed, clanged, and rumbled. George didn't mind. But with each clatter of thunder, Zippity raced in crazy circles. He plinked, he chewed, he dashed, and he crashed until finally, out! I'm mad at him. Rain poured down, wind shook the treetops, then boom, crack, clang, Zippity was gone. He'll get lost. It's a terrible storm. But George thumped his tail. At last he'd have his bed all to himself. George, begged the woman, go find Zippity. George stretched and groaned. Come on, George, the man pleaded. Here, George, the woman said, smell this. George studied Zippity's blanket. There was one thing George could do. It was follow a scent. Oh. Through whipping wind and needle rain, George led the way. Nose to the ground, he sniffed and whiffed, snorted and twitched. He smelled 1,000 scents, but followed only one. Past a farmhouse in shambles, a clothesline of thorny brambles, George tracked the scent. When the man and the woman turned back, George pressed on, following his nose. Up steps and down he went, to the top of the seesaw, to the ground again, along a slippery rail, over a rotted pine, down along the valley through the swampy, murky mire. George kept going until his nose led him to a shivery, shaking, wet and quaking Zippity, stuck in the thick, oozy mud. See, he's stuck in there. Zippity whimpered, Zippity whined. He twisted and turned, he wiggled and churned, but the harder he tried to reach the bank, the deeper and deeper and deeper he sank. Roo, George cried. Then George stretched himself across the log. He grabbed Zippity's collar he held fast. Slow and steady, steady and slow. George tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged until out Zippity popped. Zippity, zippity, zippity. The dogs touched noses, then George led the way. He sniffed and he whiffed, snorted and twitched, following the trail through swampy, murky mire, over the rotted pine, down a slippery slide. It's Zippity, they cried. Oh, you found him. Oh, George, you're some dog, said the man. Our dog, said the woman. From that day on, George and Zippity got along just fine. George always had a place to rest his weary head. Every day he studied 1,000 cents in the wind. And when they all went fishing, George rode in the middle, steady and still. And most nights, George didn't mind. Zip, 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 even in his sleep. All right, little buddy, it's time for night-night. I hope that you're having a good time while I'm gone. I'm going to come back on vacation soon, okay? Be a good boy for your sisters. Night-night.